Are you struggling to advance your career and sacrificing time with your loved ones because of endless to-dos, low energy, and just not enough time in the day? If so, then this podcast is for you. I am your host, Dr. Tsung, an ER, critical care, and space doctor, a peak performance coach, real estate investor, and a mother of a toddler. I'm here to guide you on mastering your mind and give you the essential skills to achieve peak performance. So welcome to Productivity MD, where you can learn to master your time and achieve the 5 freedoms in life. Hello, and thank you so much for tuning into my show. Today, we're actually going to be talking about the decision systems and framework that I use in order to figure out how to ascend up the 5 stages of time freedom. And for those of you guys who haven't heard the 5 stages of time freedom that I created, please go to the last episode to see where you are in the 5 stages, because it's very important to know where you are so you know how to ascend to the map. And then I'll teach you in this episode the decision systems in terms of like vision, master transformative purpose, and how do I say yes or no, how to ascend or figure out if you descend down the stage, okay? So I call this the time and energy mission control. And the reason I call it that is when you are working in the NASA mission control, your decisions is going to be a go, a no-go, and it will either affect the loss of life and vehicle, that's criticality 1, or it may affect just loss of mission. Some of the decisions are not so irreversible. Some of them are reversible. So it is just critical for you to actually figure out what you want to do with your time and energy capital, because time and energy capital is really the only thing we spend that we do not know the balance to. So we really want to allocate and spend them wisely instead of just wasting it. And in order to figure out, the decisions that you want to make, right? We really need to know where we want to go, right? We have a mission, we have a goal. The target is the moon, the target is the Mars, the target is International Space Station. But without that life vision, we don't know how to aim our trajectory there, right? We're going to be saying yes to everything, wasting a lot of fuel, wasting a lot of energy, and kind of course correcting every now and then. But if you know your North Star, this is where the life vision comes in, then you will waste less energy, right? You know what your filter is, your North Star for energy allocation. And if a decision that you're making or trying to, make contradicts your life vision, then for me, it is already a no-go no matter how well it pays. For example, if it contradicts my life vision of health and vitality, and I'm taking night shifts or swing shifts, or, traveling internationally and not getting enough sleep a lot, then that contradicts my life vision. So for those of you guys who haven't really done your life vision, if you're at a place where you can get out a pen and paper or Remarkable or, maybe even audio, I think audio is the best thing if it's possible. Get out your phone and we're going to start recording your answers into your AI or ChatGPT so that it will allow the stream of consciousness to come through for you and more things will come out, right? So I talked about this before, but we're going to go in a little bit more detail. So just answer these questions. What activities are you doing alone and with loved ones? What are your relationships with loved ones like? Children, grandchildren, spouse, siblings. And, imagine yourself when you're 85, 95 years old. Again, this is with full physical and mental capacity because you would have already worked on it and you can get there, right? And as much as possible, you delay the onset of chronic disease. Now, what emotions are you feeling during that time? Where are you living? Where are you traveling? How much passive income per month do you have? What are you contributing to? And what are you learning? There's a lot more questions than that, but in this episode of the show, we're just going to tackle these main ones. So as an example, for me, the initial paragraph of my life vision, I'm spending time with my children, my great-grandkids, spouse, my husband. We still have a very intimate, passionate relationship, 3D relationship that's not transactional with each other. And we're traveling to live next to our grandkids to spend time with our great grandkids. So I imagine we'll be rotating and just like living, to be really family relationships. It's going to be very close to us. So that's the beginning of my life vision. If you don't have something already like this, then this is an amazing time to create your North Star. If you already had something like this, you really want to go back to reread this, preferably weekly, but sometimes I know life gets away, maybe monthly, so that you could go back and, cross check everything that you're doing right now this quarter and see if it is actually taking you towards the life vision or away from the life vision. And then next, you want to have come up with a massive transformative purpose. Okay. So, what that is you're going to create three of these that you're going to do where it's something you're always striving for, but you can never check off. Okay. Something you're striving for, but you can never check off. And, for example, this is a not really, it is a type of motivation, but it's a filter. It's a very important filter for your decisions as well. Okay. So as an example, one of my MTP, my massive transported purpose, is to help people live and die without regrets and how they spend their time and live life with flow, presence, and peace. Number two, I want to embrace playfulness, courage, compassion, and Zen in myself, my kids, and my husband. Number three, I want to embody my feminine self. I want to go through all 7 stages as a female would go through. This is something that maybe I can go over in the later episode. I want to see the magic in myself, around me, and everyone. And just think about one massive transformative purpose for your life right now. What would you ideally want to pursue just for the joy of the pursuit, the journey itself? And it will be an always constant pursuit for the rest of your life that you will not check off. All right. So just think about that for a moment and write it down or dictate into something like your phone. Audio messages are great. I love dictating into my AI. So it stores all of my thoughts, my journey, my own custom GPT. Next, we're going to do a very quick summary of the 5 stages of time freedom. Okay. So the first stage of the 5 freedom, just so you know, you can be in all 5 stages at the same time. All right. You don't necessarily have to just be in one stage. Now, the most important part I want you guys to think about is how many, when you are working, like not working or not working clinically or in a corporation or something like that, what is the stage you spend more than 50% of the time in? I guess that's the best way to put it. Okay. What is the stage you spend more than 50% of the time to be in? All right. And that's going to determine your primary stage. Okay. As a summary here, the stage one is time prisoner. I don't have time. Life is reactive. You're just, firefighting the whole entire day. You react to other people's demands and you really don't have any control. Number two, time manager. I'm so busy, but I'm tired because you haven't used any leverage. You haven't automated anything. You have no boundaries and you sacrifice your own health and vitality. You don't have any leverage. So you're busy, but you feel like busyness, you're mistaking any sort of busyness for progress. You're not really making strides or very, very slow strides towards your life vision. Number three is the time creator. And then as a time creator, your one-liner is, I can make the time. Because now you use leverage, you hired people, you automate things, you eliminate things. You're a master at delegation. You maybe use AI. And you now free up the space, but you have a pressure to optimize that white space. You are uncomfortable with free space on your calendar. You have FOMO. You see the gap in things, how things can be always better. How can I make this better? How can I make this faster? How can I get more output from the people who are, working with me, right? So you're addicted to optimization and actually you get irritated whenever time is wasted. And you're really, not free at all. So this is the stage of fake time freedom. You have control of your time and your schedule, but yet you feel stressed and you don't feel free. And I know this firsthand, and that's how I realized that when I'm on this current sabbatical right now, that my relationship with time and how I want to optimize the time and how I see the gap in things is what's trapping me. My mindset was stuck in a time creator stage. And then in order to ascend to the fourth stage, the time liberator stage, where you truly are living and spending time without any regrets. Your one-liner is, your filter is, does this multiply or drain my energy? You're filtering based on energy. Time is not a factor at all. And you filter based on your values, your purpose. You don't have FOMO anymore. You see the gain or the magic in everything. And whenever something comes where there's a thing to do or to-do list or whatever, you don't attach any emotion to it. It is just as is, or you actually see the magic or the gain in it. You just say to yourself, okay, this will be done in due time at this day. That's it. So you don't go down a negative spiral. And usually you're very clear about your no's. Usually everything is a no unless it's a hell yes. And then the last stage is a time transcender. This is a stage where you say this moment is all there is, that there's no present, there's no future. You're in the flow state. You have maximal creativity, focus, energy. You're present with whoever you're in front of. And you're having 5x output if you're working on something, the business related perhaps or creative. And you feel joy and, you're just doing this thing just for the journey in itself, right? So you don't stay in this stage forever, and you'll mostly target is to become a time liberator, because you can't really flow forever. And then you'll, let all of the practical commitments go in your life. So what I want to talk about is, how are you a go for the stage, and how do you know if you're dropping down a stage? Okay. So stage two, I'm going to stage two first, because I'm going to show you what it's like when you drop down to stage one and how to get back up. Stage two is the time manager. Again, I'm productive, but I'm tired. So you are a go for stage two if over 50% of the time your non-working days are filled with, or it could be your working days, depending on how you want to do it. But usually it'll be a two different percentages depending on your type of work. When I'm in the ER, I'm in stage one and two most of the time. That's it. There's really no other way around it. So if you're go for stage two, in more than 50% of your non-clinical days are with known priorities, you have lists, you have tools, you use productivity tools, you do most of the things yourself, you feel busy, but the needle's not moving much. And whenever you get stressed, you feel like it's all on me. So you're doing all the household stuff yourself because it's faster. You don't hire because training feels like hard work to you. It's easier if you just do it because you know everything already. You color code your calendar and you have your checklist, but at the end of the day, you are still constantly exhausted, right? So how do you know if you drop down to stage one for stage two? Stage one is the time prisoner. When you start becoming reactive instead of planning, intentional planning, you start checking your email, your messages, your inbox, or start responding to it instead of your top three priorities. You start serving other people again instead of serving yourself and what's important in your MTP and your life vision, right? You're afraid of what other people think about you in both stage one and stage two. And so in order to course correct back up to stage two as a time manager, you want to reintroduce your structure, your planning, your flow blocks, revisit your life vision MTP, your massive transformative purpose. You take away all of the distractions, notifications, phones, email notifications, especially during the deep work times and also before you go to sleep. You want to schedule your top three priorities the following day, the night before, and just have the mindset that not everything needs to be completed today. Just top three, and that's it. Remove one obligation that's there only because you feel guilty and you're afraid of how other people might see you. And as an example case, my client was a 60% time prisoner, 40% time manager. And in just 48 hours, we restructured her flow blocks, and she was able to tell me that she has never experienced flow like this before. And just think that this is in 48 hours, you can make the change up to a stage like that. And again, I said, you can be all 5 stages in one day. Which one is the most? Over 50%. Okay. Now, when you are in stage three, the time creator, you say, I can make the time, right? Time is expandable. You can use leverage. You're good at automating. You're good at hiring people. You are a go for stage three if over 50% of the time you have delegation, automation, elimination. You have deep work blocks, flow blocks. You can create space whenever there's opportunity. You can move things around and you'll be able to take it on, right? You're usually doing things in your zone of genius. You're capable, you're resourceful. You have flow node policies. For example, like before 1 p.m., I'm just flowing, I'm doing my deep work, and I don't take any meetings. Or between 5 to 8, it's my kids' time and I am not doing any work. Or the weekend, there's no work. You have daily recovery after your flow blocks, each flow block. Well, let me just tell you how do you know that you are dropping down into stage 2, the time manager? You stop leveraging and you start doing again yourself. You feel behind unless you're busy. You resorb the task that you outsourced before, and then you resorb it back to do it yourself again. And you lose your discipline, your structural discipline. Your calendar is reactive to other people again, or doing it yourself instead of like really structuring it carefully where it's the non-negotiables are non-negotiable. And you want to course correct back up because you want to rebuild any sort of leverage you have before adding new things on top, new open loops. So you want, if you drop down to time manager, to go back up to stage 3, the time creator, you want to reinstate 1 protective flow blocks and recovery a day, 1 delegated task a day, having the mindset that 80% done is better than 0% done from, other people helping you. And then you want to change the language. Language is super important, and because it will give you the emotion. When you think like, I feel unsupported, I feel stressed, you want to change it to, I feel like I haven't slowed down to give myself the recovery I need. So some of the real life examples when you drop down is you let go of a virtual assistant temporarily and you start doing everything yourself. You fill all the white space up with, all the freed up time with admin stuff instead of deep work. You feel like you need to learn something before you delegate it out to somebody, or you don't want to hire someone because you feel like you don't have enough work for an assistant to do. Sometimes you'll sacrifice your recovery break to accommodate either a new opportunity, a meeting that talks about a new opportunity. But this can be changed in 1 day, right? I have a client, he was 70% time creator, 30% time manager, but dropped down due to he added more obligations. But the following day, we restructured the day completely. And in 1 day, he was able to make as much income that he hasn't for the past quarter compared to the past quarter. Like he was not able to make that much since like last September. And so just know that the change can be instant, can be very fast within a day or 2 days. Stage 4, you're the time liberator. You say, this is multiply or drain my energy. And you want to be in this stage most of your day, so over 50%. Time is not the metric anymore. Energy is the metric. And you are go for stage 4 if over 50% of the day feels calm, spacious, intentional, and your decisions are filtered through your life vision, your massive transformative purpose, your energy allocation, and the criticality of, the decisions or, the task. Because you have these decision filters, you say no easily, quickly. You love white spaces on your calendar. Okay. It doesn't threaten you. You don't feel like you're not doing enough or not serving your purpose. You don't have any FOMO of what you're missing out on if you don't take on this opportunity, right? And you have scheduled in long-term active recovery. So, say every 2 weeks, it's going to be a massage. Say you have regular, like for me, regular PT appointments coming up to make sure I have maximal functionality and flexibility with my weightlifting. So you want to know sometimes you'll teeter-totter between stage 3 and stage 4 because this is like the most common example I see. My calendar was a stage 4, a time liberator, but it looked like I have all my non-negotiables set. Everything is like, very optimized, scheduled out. I have time with my kids. I have date nights, but my mindset was stuck as a time creator. And my mindset, my relationship with time didn't catch on. So you've dropped to stage 3 if you start wanting to optimize outcome and output and any time addiction, optimization addiction comes back. You say yes to something because something's too good to miss. any sort of delays or inefficiencies are irritating to you, and we fill up the space with more work to do. And you say yes to things that could cost you your sleep or family time. And you feel like this pressure when, your morning you're productive, but the afternoons are not productive. And you get very irritated when somebody slows down your schedule. When you drop to stage 3, how do you course correct? You pause any new yeses, any new commitments, and you want to re-anchor, revisit your life vision, your MTP, and you want to decide on things to make sure, does this multiply or drain my energy? We restore any sort of white spaces on your calendar before adding anything else. And any choke points, calendar flow killers is what I call it. Anything that's like 15-minute V meeting here, you wait another 15 minutes and 30 minutes here. Those are all like flow killers. You want to remove these like little blocks and make things collaborate more asynchronously as possible via text or audio message. And so as an example case, I was dropping down to time creator, and I wasn't focusing on my health and vitality as much as I felt like it didn't match my life vision. If I wanted to have cognitive and physical capability at 90, I really wasn't focusing on it as much of, like I want to be as healthy as a 20-year-old right now, if that makes sense, 2 decades younger. I was just, weightlifting and, getting labs, but I felt like I could go further. So I changed my priorities. Health and vitality is at the top now because I want to spend time with my kids, my great grandkids, grandkids. I have went for a VO2 max testing. I've gotten a DEXA scan in order to assess my bones, my muscle, visceral fat, sub-Q fat, because now I have measurement, a baseline, and then I have a target to aim for. All right. The target is a VO2 max of a 20-year-old, and same thing to increase my muscle mass to prevent muscle loss. So if you guys feel like your relationships with your loved ones are important, and you really want to be there for them with full functionality when they start having families themselves, and to enjoy your time with any grandchildren that you have without not being able to get up from the floor with them, not being able to sit on the floor and play with them, then now is the time to kind of build up that reserve. So another thing I did to get back up to a time liberator is I added a one no meetings, no obligations week per month as well. Okay. Just giving myself some white space week. So now you can see that your time and energy capital decisions will either gain you your true time freedom and your life vision, or it will sneak in quietly and compound and cost you your time, your health, your family, or business months and years later, right? In a mission, and astronauts, during a mission, we actually track their work time, and as flight surgeons, daily work duty hours. And as a flight surgeon, we actually, have to look at if it's exceeding by 15 minutes, if it's exceeding by 30 minutes, and if it's exceeded a lot, hard work week, we're actually required to give them some payback for some rest. Otherwise, we know that this overworking by 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes a day will quietly compound and actually decrease performance, decrease their cognitive speed and capability. And so there's a whole tool just to track this, okay? And we need to approve it, but we don't do the same thing for ourselves. We just let it quietly compound until we need a vacation. And then when we go on a vacation, then we come back and we do it again, right? So we want sustainability. And Tony Robbins says that it is in your moments of decision that your destiny is shaped. And I truly believe that because, you want to understand right now, for those of you guys in whatever stage you're in, 1 through 4. Sometimes you're in 5 because you're in deep work and flow state, but most of you guys are in 1 through 4. You want to ask yourself right now, how do you ascend up the stage? And what decisions do you need to make in order to ascend up the stage? What is the criticality of your decision right now? In terms of criticality in NASA, criticality 1 is loss of life or vehicle. Criticality 2 is loss of mission. In Earth criticality, I translated it to number 1, it's a loss of our health, vitality, relationships, or business survival. Number two, it's loss of our own mission, our impact on this world, our business direction, and short-term revenue efficiency of our business. That's criticality too to me. All right. So your decision right now, what is the criticality of it? Okay. As a summary of the stage descent and ascent, if you experience this constant reactivity to other people, you're in stage one. Immediate correction is that you need to reintroduce the flow block structure into your life. That's matching with your chronotype. Number two, if you are experiencing exhausted productivity where you're just doing everything yourself, you're back in stage two. You want to add some leverage, either automating, delegating, or eliminating. Number three, if you feel like you're optimizing time, lots of time pressure, you're in stage three. Now you want to re-anchor to the energy filter again, instead of like figuring out if you have the time. And also, if you're in stage five, you actually don't know you're in stage five until you're out of stage five. You drop down to stage four when you start thinking about the past and the future. That's when you're back in stage four. So it's okay. You re-engage in the deep work, the next flow block after you structure in some recovery. And when you structure in recovery, it's going to be something that activates your rest and digest system, the parasympathetic system. So that could be, laying on the floor, shavasana. That could be breathing. That could be looking out in nature, taking a walk in nature, anything to kind of calm your nervous system down. So I want to tell you that descent down the stage is normal, but if you don't notice, unnoticed descent will cost you. So the time and energy, mission control, this is where we make decisions, okay? This is now the decision boardroom. What is a critical decision that you must make right now to qualify for a go for the next stage of time freedom? And what is the cost of inaction? What is the cost of not making this decision and going for it? Okay. Say in a year, what would it be like in a year? What would it be like in 5 years? And what would you gain if you actually made this decision right now in a year or 5 years from now? All right. So think about that for a moment. What is like a critical decision? I'll give you some examples just so you can think about, what type of decisions these might be. So a decision for me was cutting all the night shifts because the cost was essentially I had low energy all week, even though I didn't do that many nights. But one night shift, 2 nights before, I would have some stress about the nights because I was like, oh crap, I gotta like make sure I adjust my sleep. I know I'm gonna be tired day one, no matter what I do. And then 2 days after, I'm still tired. And so I'm not present with my kids, and everything was slow progress in my business, right? The gain, when I cut off the night shifts completely, I have more presence with my kids. I was waking up to, do my first flow block very easily because I was now, waking up at like 4:30 a.m., 4:45 a.m., even for work. So it's perfect. It's just more vitality, longevity on this earth, more playful with my husband. Another decision example from one of my clients, she's cut the remote shifts that was actually draining her energy because of the household. When she's in the house, it's distracting actually. And the cost was slowing productivity with the patients, interruption of patient care, and also just annoyance with the people in the household. What she gained after, more focus with patients, more parasympathetic activation, like more calm, more presence with the patients, right? More rest and digest, and actually $24,000 more revenue per year. So, like, that's a win-win situation. The third example decision is pivoting into telemedicine versus full-time working in the ER. When you work full-time in the ER, you have a lack of sleep, your focus and presence, you're always flipping back and forth. Your sleep is never consistent. So you're always annoyed a lot of times, impatient. And, she was labeled as the angry parent. So by her children, her family. So the gain after making that pivot was more sleep, of course, more energy, of course, everything is more consistent, more time to make it to the sports that she wanted to do, less cortisol activation, less sympathetic activation with the fight or flight response during, ER shifts because there's less ER shifts, freedom to travel on vacation, and also less like cognitive load on decisions on when to do things based on the ER shift schedule, because the ER shift schedule can be very irregular. So a lot of times before the switch was like, well, I don't know when I can do this. Let me check. It's so irregular. I don't know. There's no irregularity. I have to check my ER schedule for everything. So again, think about the critical decision you must make right now to ascend up the stage, and what is the cost of inaction. Okay. What would you gain if you made this decision right now? So I know we talked about a lot. Your mission right now is to allocate your time and energy to avoid any costly mistakes and protect your life vision. This is a photo of the South Pole. Okay. And in the South Pole, every decision you make will affect everything else. And you have such limited resources of people, of, fuel, of food, of electricity, that you really have to allocate everything very carefully. And sometimes the planes can make it in for resupplies. Sometimes they cannot. Sometimes they can make it in for medical evacuation. Sometimes they cannot that same day. All right. So it's all dependent on weather. So I want you to allocate your time and energy as if, you're this vessel, this life. You're in the South Pole. It's precious. So precious. And I want you to get to your life vision no matter what. And really, the most important thing is your health and vitality. That's the most important thing, right? Without your health and vitality, you have nothing else. So thank you so much for your time, energy, and attention here. I have usually I have just one-on-one advisory, but because, from other people's advice, I wanted to serve more people. And I think the best way for me is to create a community in school. Currently, it's called the Time and Energy Mission Control. And this community is only for people, whose decisions affect profits, people, and outcomes. It's not so much content and support, but it's a monthly decision boardroom where people can come in live and we pressure test real decisions before they become expensive. We use decision systems and filters to eliminate waste of time, money, energy. Okay. And we just have fewer open loops. You will leave with less decision, or like leave with fewer open loops, decision closed, and lower cognitive load and protective focus. Okay. So if this actually resonates with you, I would actually go to school and find time and energy mission control. And you can take a look to see if this is a match of where you are at, if you want to ascend up the stages in time freedom, and go ahead and join the community. We will have live sessions and also recorded sessions, but the goal is actually in the live sessions where we can make decisions, right? So again, thank you so much with your time, energy, attention for listening to me. And just so you know that everything you need is within you now. All right. Thank you and have an amazing day.
Disclaimer: this content is for general information purposes only and does not constitute the practice of medicine. No doctor patient relationship is formed. The use of this information linked to this content is at the user's own risk. The content is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Users should not disregard or delay in obtaining medical advice for any medical conditions they may have and should seek the assistance of their healthcare professionals for any such conditions. The views are personal views only and do not represent any university or government institution.